Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. All right, well, welcome to our update call this afternoon. My name's Lexi Bond. I'm the Professional Development and Training Coordinator here at the Department of Education. We have some updates for you this afternoon. As usual, all cameras and microphones are turned off. If you have a question throughout this call, feel free to just drop it in the chat. You can also raise your hand using the feature at the top of your screen. Somebody will gladly enable your microphone for you. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started with our AI disclaimer. So I'm going to go ahead and read this to you. So the state of Tennessee does not currently permit the use of generative AI tools such as Otter in meetings hosted on state resources. Meetings with contractors, vendors, and subrecipients are not public meetings and may involve discussion of protected state data. Generative AI tools are not adequately regulated and are designed to train on data that is collected and may misrepresent data or release protected data to the general public. While the state supports your desire to maintain documentation of the meeting and what you learn, please respect our decision to safeguard information and do not attempt to use tools such as these. If you choose to use a tool such as this, the state will block that tool from the meeting. So again, we are recording and transcribing. The recording will be sent out to you in a follow-up email, as well as a copy of the slide deck. So we have no use for those tools anyway. So if we see any, we will remove you from the meeting, but please make sure you've got those turned off. Our mission statement is to develop extraordinary school nutrition professionals and provide strategies to increase consumption of healthy school meals. And our agenda for the afternoon, we have our state director updates, our compliance updates, our program updates, and our regional updates. And now I'm going to hand it over to our state director, Josh Nunley, for his updates.
Thank you, Lexi. Can you hear me? All right, good to go. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the April State Agency Quarterly Update Call. As Lexi said, my name is Josh Nunley. I'm the State Director of School Nutrition, and I help bridge the gaps between school nutrition and other departments throughout the state and federal levels. I wanted to share some quotes as we get close to the end of the school year. The first one being, although no one can come back and make a brand new start, anyone can start from now and make a brand new ending. And I share this first quote because although we only have about 2 months left of this school year, which is crazy to think, we can create a great ending for our teams and for our students. And that ending, it will help set us up for success for next year. The second quote is, always find time to find the things that make you feel happy to be alive. And I share that second quote because many of you will be going into summer and hopefully getting some rest before the new school year starts. And I hope you're able to find time to do the things that make you happy and that you get to enjoy a little bit of your summer break. So just for the state director updates, we'll talk today about USDA changes, the TSNA conference and the procurement team up that's going on there, Coordinated School Health Institute conference, state match letters, USDA foods, and then general updates and just a little bit about a survey that will go out after this call. So on the USDA changes front, there's a lot to talk about there, but the big thing is there's a lot of change happening in government right now, and that has impacted school nutrition. Our regional USDA office, CIRO, has experienced multiple retirements and terminations of employment for many of their probationary employees. And I say this to all of you because I want you to know that this could impact the speed in which we reply to some of your questions that get rolled up to the USDA, because sometimes we have to roll those questions up to them to get an answer, and that could be delayed a little bit because of the restructuring they have going on, and then just because of a lot of the retirements they've had. I also just want to address the brief period of time we had a few months ago when there was a federal pause. There was a lot of miscommunication going on, so we were not able to comment as we didn't have any guidance from our regional office on what was going on. And even reaching out to them, they weren't able to comment. So that's why we didn't have any I guess, information sent out to you all because we didn't have anything to go on and we didn't want to miscommunicate something without hearing from our CRO office, our FNS. I mentioned the federal probationary staff. And again, I just want to emphasize that our FNS offices are working with smaller teams. So responses may be a bit slower than normal. We've seen some meetings being canceled and, they're working to figure things out as it takes some time to rehire and train up team members, as you all know. So I just want to give them some grace as they go through a lot of transition right now. And then lastly, you may have seen in the news that LFS and LFPA contracts with states have been terminated. This does not mean that the funds we received last year were impacted, only the funds we anticipated receiving this year. So, but rest assured that we're doing everything here to support you, and we're doing everything in our power to provide you with what you need to serve the students in your districts. So for TSNA Team Up, it says Team Up on there, but really I'm just excited about this TSNA conference this year because I think you all will see some great trainings. One thing we did this year is partner with TSNA to bring in a procurement expert. We worked with the Urban School Food Alliance and USDA to bring a national procurement training to Tennessee. I think this Team Up is going to be a game changer for our state. Many of you on this call have asked for more training around procurement. I read every survey we receive from SFAs who attend our regional meetings, S&P Academy, basically just any survey that comes into our office from you guys, and procurement is always at the top of that list. And so the state agency, we're already in planning mode to create some procurement resources for you next year, but I think this training will be a great first step or sort of a kickoff to hopefully be more guidance around your request for more procurement resources. So just a little bit about the Team Up. Dr. Wilson, she's a world-renowned school nutrition director, school nutrition advocate, and the executive director of the Urban School Food Alliance. So what would this Team Up kind of consist of? It's an 8-hour training. It's all day. It's with local and national experts discussing steps to improve procurement processes and also how to develop solicitations. So this kind of goes along with, you may have heard me talk about it a couple times on this call, being a part of a national procurement advisory group that's creating a national bid template. This coincides with that. So it's like we have the national bid template being informed, and then you have team ups that are being conducted across the nation. We're I think the 5th state that's getting a training, procurement training from Team Up. But also along with that, you may have seen the Harvard Business School is working with the Urban School Food Alliance, and they sent out a survey to SFAs throughout the country. And so we had, I think, about 40 of our SFAs here in Tennessee respond to that survey. So I appreciate you all responding to that. And another thing they did, the Harvard Business School, is they looked at state agency websites. They looked at ours, they looked at other states, and they were specifically looking at procurement and whether or not the thresholds aligned and the guidance aligned. So that way, what they're doing is they're compiling all this data. So in year 3 of this project, not only will we have a national bid template and we will have some trainings across multiple states on procurement, but we'll actually have some data to help drive, like, what can we do a better job of as far as state agencies or the USDA, and informing our SFAs about different procurement guidance and practices. So I'm excited about that. So I want to talk a little bit about that. The other thing, it kind of goes along with that, Coordinated School Health Institute. We had that institute this year on March 5th through 7th. I saw many school nutrition directors in attendance, and I'm bringing this up during this call because I'd like to see more of you there next year if you can attend. We're seeing the connections with Coordinated School Health team grow, and as you can see from this list of sessions, there's been some great trainings and sessions around school nutrition. I do want to give a shout out to my team, Marlia, Jennifer, and Elizabeth, who did the first training session listed on this slide, transforming the healthy school nutrition environment. And I want to use this as an example of the cross collaboration that happens at this conference. So during that session, a school nurse asked a question about working with her school nutrition director around diabetic students. And this created a great conversation around this topic. and also a solution for her. So I would love to see more of your smiling faces at this conference next year. Another great reason to come to this conference is it usually falls on the same week as Junior Chef. So you could come down and watch that great competition as well. I know this year Peggy came to the Coordinated School Health Institute and was able to join the Junior Chef competition to watch her team win an award. So it's just great having both those at the same time too. I also want to give a shout out to Sonny Mitchell from Giles County for being awarded the nutrition component award at the Coordinated School Health Institute. Sonny has created innovative menus, increased participation, established a second FFPP location, partnered with local vendors and incorporating fresh, locally sourced ingredients, and helped provide crisis management during a water crisis. I think the thing I love the most about her bio is that Sonny believes in empowering her team and is ready to step in and support whenever she's needed. And so congrats again to Sonny. We appreciate all the work you're doing in Giles County. There's a little picture. And then state match letters. You should have received these letters, I believe, on March 24th, and the funding should arrive soon after, if not before. We're trying to do a better job of coordinating when these funds are sent. So you receive an award letter around the same time the funds are deposited. That way it ensures that you have the documentation needed to discuss with your finance team and to confirm the funds were received. These funds are sent via e-plan by someone else in our department instead of our normal way we do like claims. So but I think now we have a good process in place. So you should be getting those letters around the same time they're deposited. And just as a reminder to follow the guidance around TCA 49.3.313, which states that state match funds to LEAs should be used for one or more of the following: employment of a certified school food service director, employment of cafeteria manager or assistant managers accredited by the Tennessee School Food Service Association or working toward such accreditation, and then professional training programs for non-accredited personnel. So the next thing on my agenda is USDA foods. This really, the thing I want to talk about on this is this is just an area we want our team to get stronger in. So we're working to make that happen. Elizabeth on our team will be going to the American Commodity Distribution Association Conference. I think I said that right. There's a lot to that conference title next week. I think this is the first time we've ever had anyone on our team attend or go to this conference. So it's exciting to have someone there. And then I've also set up a bi-monthly meeting with Grant Pulse at the Department of Ag to form a better relationship with our ag partners. And we're also trying to get the USDA to provide a USDA foods training at our S&P Academy. So we're hoping to grow our knowledge in this area to help support you and your teams. School nutrition attorney, just an update there. We have hired an attorney and she'll be starting on Monday. Her name is Savannah Reynolds and she recently graduated from Nashville School of Law, and we're excited to have her on the team. This is a new role that I think will have an impact on the work you all do because it'll help us get out policy guidance quicker and hopefully add some more procurement prototype documents as well with this additional team member. And I'm excited as well because it's the first time that I've been in school nutrition that we've had a full team, which in turn means to me, it means better support to you all. And so I'm really excited about that. And then lastly, we'll be sending a survey after this call today. I hope that you're able to take the time to respond and get feedback, because if you've noticed from our last call, we set goals for our team this year, and we're excited that we're executing those goals. And we stated at S&P Academy that we would focus on 3 areas: internal process, collaboration, and transparency, and that all our goals would fall under those 3 areas. And then on our last quarterly call we gave all you an update on where we were and the progress the team has made. And I've mentioned it multiple times that this year was about laying down a foundation for our team and putting some internal processes in place so we could work more efficiently. And so now that we're close to ending the year, we're hoping that next year we can create goals around you and your team's needs. But we didn't want to just be like, hey, this is what you need. We want to hear from you. So we want to hear from you what tools you need to make you and your team more successful in what you do, with the end goal being to feed more students healthy school meals. So I'll end with that, and thank you again for all you do for our students and your schools.
Okay, can y'all hear me now?
We can hear you.
I've been having some lovely technology issues, so I had a lovely broadcaster microphone, and it only works if it's plugged in. Somehow it got unplugged, so
We can
that's
hear
what
you great
happens.
now.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'm Randa. I'm the Senior Compliance and Data Manager, and technology snafus are just apparently part of my life for this last at least month. But I'm here to talk about compliance updates today. So first, we're going to talk about direct certification, and then we'll talk a little bit about CEP, some recent USDA policy memos, some application packet changes, milk dispensers, and some procurement updates about USDA foods. And we're actually going to have our procurement specialist, Elizabeth, give you those updates. Okay, so first off, with direct certification updates, the big one, and I plan to just keep giving you guys as much information as we have on this as we have it available, but we are moving forward to procure a software that will allow us to implement a state match system. I don't really have any additional information to share on that yet, but we're hoping to do some really big, exciting things when it comes to direct certification. I also wanted to let y'all know on direct cert that I was able to present last week at TDASC, which is the Tennessee Data and Attendance Supervisors Conference. And I talked about direct certification. I gave a very high-level overview of what direct certification is. I mainly talked about direct certification is a process. I had them say that with me a few times as the audience. And part of that, like Josh said, we're trying to break down silos and build bridges between different teams and across the department. So that was the purpose of me presenting at that conference. Once we have the presentation, it will be shared out with y'all so you can see what I talked about, and it will also be posted on the TDASC website. So you can stay tuned for some more information on that. Another thing that came up at the TDASC conference is some changes with coding. And I wasn't able to put this in my slides because this information came out last week. But I did want you all to hear the news from us in case you've already heard it from your data or attendance folks. And that news is that the J code is going away. So there will be no more J code starting in 25-26. The way that the economically disadvantaged category is considered, none of those definitions are changing. It's just that we're getting rid of J code. So SNAP will have SN, TANF will have TO, and the department is working on guidance to share that out with everyone like we did with the economically disadvantaged guidance. So we will be having official documentation for y'all to see on that, but I wanted to share the news with you that we would be, there would be some coding changes, and they are also bringing back X and Y codes for free or reduced by application. Okay, so now for some CEP updates. This is a friendly reminder that any LEA that plans to elect CEP for 25-26 must notify us, the state agency, of your intent to elect CEP and submit documentation showing the counts of identified and enrolled students as of the most recent April 1st. In order to meet the June 30th deadline, you must have your CEP site list completed in TMAC by June 30th, and that is what we consider to be you notifying us as that you intend to elect CEP. And I will also say that some of this information I'm going over today will also be talked about at regional meetings. So we hope that this is kind of like a reminder or an FYI. And then at your regional meetings with your regional consultants, you guys can get into more conversations if you want to about some of the information we're sharing today. Okay, so just as a quick review of what you include when you're calculating your ISP, you include your DC SNAP, your DC TANF, directly certified for Medicaid free, any DC foster, DC Head Start if they are enrolled in your district and you claim the meals and TMAC, and then migrant, homeless, and runaway. You do not include any categorical applications or students who are directly certified for reduced price benefits. Okay, so in order to do your match or to establish your ISP for starting CEP, if you want a new cycle in 25-26, the data has to be as of April 1st. So that means that we need your enrollment/attendance and your identified student data from the same day, and that needs to be April 1 of 2025. So to accommodate and help you make more matches to meet that April 1 deadline, our Medicaid file for April has a March 31st as of date. So when you go into TMAC and you go to Direct Cert and you click on Medicaid and you select March or April for 24-25, the as of date is going to be March 31st. And we did this specifically so that you could use the April file as part of your ISP calculation. If you use the file date for the start of the eligibility, then they would be eligible for meals as of March 31st. And so they would be eligible then also on April 1st and can be included in your ISP. You can use also all of the SNAP TANF files for March. The last as of date on there is March 28th, 2025. So there's only one day in the month of March that isn't included, and that would have been March 31st. So we didn't change the cadence of the March files, but we did change it for April just so to make sure you had the April file that could be used for matching in ISPs. Okay, this is a big change that we are rolling out starting in 25-26, and this is how we validate CEP. So beginning in this school year 25-26, we are going to be validating your ISP and your free claiming percentage outside of the regular administrative review process. So if you are newly electing CEP for 25-26, we will be conducting a technical assistance review to validate your ISP and your free claiming percentage. So the way that this has been working up until now is we wait until you have an administrative review and we validate your ISP at that point. And so this has created some issues with having a lot of fiscal action on administrative reviews because the USDA requires us to apply fiscal action for any CEP ISP issue back to the beginning of the school year. And that's a headache for you. It is a headache for us on reporting purposes because we have to report these things and let USDA know of any changes. And so we are going to start validating ISPs outside of reviews so that the goal is to have your free claiming percentage validated and good to go, and it won't be an issue when we get to your administrative review. If you are operating CEP and you are not starting a new cycle and you have a review this year, we're going to validate your ISP before we actually get there and do the review. So it'll be validated off-site. And then if you are continuing on a CEP cycle that started a year prior, or you don't have a review, we aren't going to validate those. So it's kind of going to be a rolling thing that as we do reviews or as you newly elect CEP, we will have those ISPs validated. And the goal is to complete those validations by September 30th of each school year, so that even if there did have to be a claim change for 1 month, it would be as minimal as possible, and we're not having to go back and have you change claims for multiple months or something like that. So we're hoping that this is well received by everyone, because I know it is a big change from how we've done it, but we've seen concerns for both our side and your side. And so this is one of those things where we're trying to improve our internal processes to be able to serve you all better in the long term. Okay, now we're going to talk about some recent policy memos and resources. First, I'm going to get a drink of water. Okay, so here are policy memos that USDA has released since our last call, or since our last set of slides. We have 5 that we're going to talk about. You can go. Yep. I wasn't going to read all of those from the table since we have them on other slides. So the first one is SP 06-2025, which is the National School Lunch Program Equipment Assistance Grants. And this talks about installation expenditures. There's nothing that really changed with this policy memo. It's just expanding on previous guidance and letting you know that reasonable costs associated with successfully installing and using new equipment may be included in your equipment grant application, and it provides examples of including these associated costs. Nothing really new there, but I wanted to let y'all know that this policy memo exists. All right, the next one is SP 07-2025, which is the requirement to accept medical statements from registered dietitians for schools and child and adult care institutions and facilities. That is a mouthful. So no later than July 1st, 2025, program operators must now accept medical statements from registered dietitians, RDs, and registered dietitian nutritionists, RDNs. The state of Tennessee does require state licensure, so the dietitian must also be a licensed dietitian, which is LDN, LD, or LN. And the form must be signed by a professional from a medical office with an established professional relationship with the individual, and not a healthcare professional employed by the school district. So if you're a registered dietitian employed by the school district, or you're a registered dietitian who's a school nutrition director, you can't sign your own medical statements. Essentially, you need to have that professional relationship already established. And we have already updated the meal modification form to include dietitians, and that's been on our website for a minute, and I'm putting the link here. So there was a question about CEP. To confirm about CEP calculation, the ISP is calculated as total identified divided by total in attendance on 4-1. That is correct. Yes, we really lean into the definition of enrolled and attending as of 4-1. So next we have some info on non-congregate meals. SP 08-2025 is non-congregate meal service in rural areas, questions and answers number 3. It provided some clarity on questions and answers around the non-congregate summer feeding program, and it includes meal service and meal quality, civil rights requirements, monitoring and program integrity, and then general and miscellaneous items. Okay, Buy American. This is one of our favorite topics, and we actually have a poll for you guys to see how your Buy American tracking has been going. Even though it's not required this year, we have encouraged it so you can get an idea of where you're at. Be honest. We're not gonna come and get you if you say you haven't started yet. We're just going to take that as a note to ourselves of where we need to go. I'm going to let y'all answer the poll, and I'm going to talk a little bit, and then we'll look at what those poll results are. But for school year 25-26, the Buy American cap is going into effect. And so that says that non-domestic food purchases cannot exceed 10% of your total commercial food expenditures. We actually just got some clarification last week from USDA that when they talk about commercial food expenditures, they are really still thinking of that 2017 reference of just looking at those reimbursable meal components. So they are kind of separating commercial versus like USDA foods type thing. So the 10% limit includes items on the FAR list that are not manufactured or produced in sufficient and reasonably available quantities of a satisfactory quality in the U.S. The accommodation process provides us the ability to approve temporary relief for you if you demonstrate that you cannot meet the 10% threshold established for non-domestic food purchases. And then, of course, domestic products are food products processed in the United States using agricultural commodities that are over 51% domestically grown. Okay, so for the accommodation, you would tell us the categories that you are experiencing issues with, and we have fruit, vegetables, fruit or vegetable juices, cereal, and then other to specify. Okay, so this is really about our process for how we're going to accept the request if you can't meet the 10% threshold. You are going to provide us some information about what's going on and a timeline for making the modification or being able to meet the Buy American requirement. And we are going to have additional guidance coming out. We've created some resources for you to use and to track your Buy American. And like I said, we'll be talking about this some more. The big thing that we want y'all to know is that we are not going to accept requests unless you have demonstrated that you can't meet the 10%. And what I mean by that is we don't want you to just submit a request to say, hey, I don't think I'm going to meet this. I just need to be covered just in case. We will work with you to give you that accommodation if you reach the 10%, but we want to really be able to track who needs this and what that is looking like. So in order to be able to get the accommodation, you have to demonstrate that you have reached that 10% cap. And like I said, there's going to be a lot more information forthcoming about that. I am going to go back to our poll now. It looks like maybe about half of y'all responded. And of those that responded, half of you guys haven't started tracking yet. So that's good for us to know. Like we said, it was not a requirement for this year. It was just encouraged for you to look at what where you stand so you know where you need to go for next year. But of those that have been tracking, it looks like most of you say that it's going good or at least okay. So I'm going to take that as a positive note. We will be talking more about Buy American accommodations and tracking and all of that fun stuff at S&P Academy. But we did want to address it now since it was part of this policy memo that came out. And then the other policy memo that we have was SP 10/2025, which was a rescission of guidance on promoting access to voting through child nutrition programs. And the title of it pretty much sums it all up. It rescinded a prior policy memo, which was SP 07/2022. When will Buy American be monitored by the state agency is an excellent question. USDA has said it will be monitored via the administrative review and procurement review process, and that is all we know at this time. So stay tuned for more info. USDA has also done additional prototype application translations, and those 10 new languages are on the screen, and there is a link for all of the applications on the FNS website. And I also have application packet changes. I thought I was getting ready to just turn it over to Libby. I'm not going to go super in depth on these because we did have a training on it. But I did want to remind everyone that we are having some application packet changes for 25-26. And those changes are that we are adding some new civil rights questions to the SFA application portion. And then you will also be required to confirm your associated users during your application packet renewal. All of that information is detailed in the linked training, and a full training of going through the full application packet will be covered at the regional meetings. Lexi, let's go ahead and skip through the civil rights questions and go to the USDA foods because I don't want to take up time reading through those all over again. They will be, milk dispensers. I keep trying to get ahead of myself. Those are in the slide deck for you to refer to. It was also on the training that we did about application packet updates. Okay, milk dispensers. USDA offer versus serve guidance requires that food after the point of service has to have an SFA monitor or some other means approved by us, the state agency, to ensure that students select components in required serving sizes. So if milk dispensers are placed outside of the serving area, you must have a process in place to ensure students are receiving reimbursable meals. Some potential options for that include ensuring that meals are reimbursable at the point of sale without milk. So if you have a milk dispenser and it's past your point of sale, don't rely on that milk to make the meal reimbursable. If the milk is required to make a reimbursable meal, make sure you're monitoring the milk dispenser to ensure the full 8-ounce serving size is taken, or there might be another option that works with your district. So you can have a milk dispenser beyond the point of service, but it is a best practice to have it prior to the cashier if that works for your space and your setup. If you have a milk dispenser beyond the point of sale, please reach out to your regional consultant. And your regional consultant is going to review your setup and then provide any necessary technical assistance if there's potential concerns that you may be creating a scenario to not be serving reimbursable meals. And then your regional consultant is going to share that information with us at the central office so that we can track who does have milk dispensers beyond the point of sale. It is time for USDA foods, and I'm so excited to turn it over to Elizabeth to give us a quick little update on USDA foods.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Frankel Houston, and if you don't know me already, I'm the procurement specialist here at TDOE, and we're going to talk about some updates for USDA foods. Okay, so we got some guidance from USDA from the CRO office on rebates as a vendor pass-through method. So this is an allowable method in the state of Tennessee, and it's also a good workaround until we hopefully one day are able to do net off invoice or NOI. It does not require additional procurement for commodity processors. So what that means for you, you can procure for your main food distributor. So if that's GFS, IWC/US Food, Cisco, what have you, you can include a specific line item information in that solicitation for commercial distributors. The only caveat is it cannot be used for beef products. And the reason for that is there's additional testing and requirements around processed beef products. So for that, you still have to use fee for service or closed stock keeping unit, SKU, net off invoice only. And of course, the net off invoice for that is not available in Tennessee right now, but I promise we're working on it. But rebates is a good workaround. If you're not familiar with the process itself, basically it's like a coupon you would use in your day-to-day life. You would purchase the line items through your commercial food distributor, and then once they've been purchased and you've paid for that, you would submit a rebate directly to the processor. So it would not go to GFS or Cisco. It would go to, say, JTM or Gold Creek, Tyson, whatever that vendor is that you have already allocated your pounds to. So that's something you would work with Grant Pulse and Gene Trimbo over at Tennessee Department of Ag to work through. So you would go ahead and on the front end, you would start allocating for processed commodities that you would intend to use the rebate vendor pass-through method for. And then when you go out for bid, you would include those specific line items in that original solicitation. And that's absolutely something we can help with. This is one thing that you cannot use the and equal clause for. This would have to be very specific because, again, you've already allocated for these certain items, for these certain vendors. More procurement guidance for USDA foods. You can use small purchases or formal contracts. So those are your invitations for bids or requests for proposals. For the small purchases, you have to, again, have all of those specific clauses and regulations for USDA foods, even in that informal or abbreviated solicitation that's included with a small purchase. So there's a little more risk involved, but if your district has an amount that is well under the simplified acquisition threshold and it doesn't make sense, or you end up in a situation which has been communicated with us this year, that you have some extra pounds you need to allocate, or things kind of hanging out there that you need to get resolved before the end of the school year, small purchase can be a way to go. You would need to ensure you're adhering to 7 CFR 250 for those regulations specific to USDA food. So that would be line items, vendor pass-through method you intend to use if that's rebate or fee for service. You need to also include your recall procedures, and the vendors would also have to submit this information to you. So at the end of the day, it's, risk reward. And if it works out better to do a formal contract, please do that. Also take your forecasting and planning into account at the beginning of the school year. So you can try to avoid as best you can. And we know situations come up, but try to avoid getting into that situation where you have those unallocated pounds or allocated, unfulfilled, unprocessed pounds hanging out there. And always, again, communicate with Grant Pulse and Gene Trimbo. You're always welcome to CC us, or if it's a procurement question, just ask us directly, and all likely for just better communication and better relationships, go ahead and CC Grant on those emails as well. One of the other things commercial distributors have to ensure that they can provide those specific brands or processors. And that's, again, using rebates for commodities is, just something to reiterate for that, and including the requirement for the award distributor to provide monthly velocity reports for processed end products. That's a good practice, no matter if you're using rebates or fee for service, but you want to really include that for rebates so you have that tracking information. Right now, none of the child nutrition cooperatives, NECO or Balco, are doing rebates for commodities. They are just doing fee for service. Looks like there are a couple of questions. Before such a big decision like fee for service versus NOI is made, will districts be consulted on the preference? Yes. So if Tennessee gets to the point where we are allowing net off invoice, that will not impact your choice to use rebating or fee for service. That's just another option that districts will have at their disposal. If honestly, fee for service is going to be the most cost efficient vendor pass-through method because there are fewer hands that those products are passing through. So if your district has the capabilities and you want to continue using fee for service in any capacity, you can absolutely do that. It's not going to be a one or the other. And you're right, Brett, fee for service also allows you to control your inventory. The pro to NOI, and that's what a lot of districts like about it, and that's why USDA also really encourages it, is that it allows you to shop at a grocery store, for instance, to buy your processed commodities, and you don't have to figure out storage for these bulk shipments that you would get from fee for service. Another question, is there specific commodity language that must be included in the commercial distributor bid to use the rebate method on a commercial bid? USDA did not provide, specific language because it's USDA and we live in the gray area with procurement, but it does have to be specific with the line item information, your amount you want to purchase, the name of the processor, all of that information must be included, and to clearly identify those items in the commercial distributor solicitation, which will turn into the executed contract that will be awarded for rebating. Okay. Brett, are you saying if we opt for a fee for service, we would have to store it ourselves as opposed to the state contracted warehouses? No, if it's something that's eligible to be stored in a state contracted warehouse, that's fine. And again, that's more of a grant pulse specific question. But I promise you, if Tennessee does allow NOI in the future, it will not impact anything we're doing right now for fee for service. Again, it's just another option. Coming from a state like Texas that has both, I can tell you that most of the districts, the vast majority of the districts there use NOI over fee for service because of the storage considerations. So what we see a lot of the times is that our larger SFAs will continue to use fee for service, again, because there's a huge cost advantage to that, and you do have more control over the inventory. And then the smaller districts using NOI. Okay, so the rebate process, I've already touched on this, but I'll go through these different steps. So the first step, again, is to allocate entitlement pounds to processors for specific food items. You'll email your commodity processing worksheet to Grant Pulse at TDA. And then for this, you need to use your proper planning and forecasting practices. So whatever your local policies are, you want to be sure that you follow those and really have a good command of your district's needs. Of course, there's always things that can come up and disrupt the planning and forecasting because God laughs at our plans. But we want you to have as much prepared as possible on the front end. And again, for more information about the commodity processing worksheet and the due dates for that, really contract Grant Pulse at TDA. And he will be good about him and Jean Trimbo as well about responding. And the second step, again, procure for your commercial food distributor, include those specific line items in your solicitation, and you have to include that velocity report requirement. because that will help you track. And the key to rebating, you have to track it because you don't get the benefit of participating in USDA foods commodities until you submit that rebate. And that rebate then comes from the vendor, the processing vendor. It does not come from your commercial food distributor. And that's why you don't have to procure separately, because it's outside of that scope. The third item is to order and receive end products via your commercial distributor. The invoice and payment, you'll first pay the commercial distributor. And then number 4, submit that rebate directly to USDA Foods commodity processors. And that's where you're using that velocity report. So you get the correct amounts on there. You'll receive rebates from the commodity processors, and then the drawdown on your year-to-date entitlement occurs. So that drawdown doesn't happen until you submit and receive that rebate from the commodity processors. Okay, you're going to want to track those. Oh, can you go back one more time? Thank you. Track via web-based supply chain management, which is WBSCM. Grant uses that now at TDA. It's USDA's tracking tool. You can also use K-12 Food Service or Processor Link. I'm more familiar with K-12 and Processor Link. WBSCM is a little trickier to use, but it is USDA's platform. So I suggest having your internal procedures and your tracking and everything for that, but then also using one of these websites. Okay, now I'm good, Lexi. And that's it. Oh, I'm sorry. I should see if there are any more questions. Can you send out more information on the rebate discussion? Yes, we can, absolutely. And if you have any other questions, just put them in the chat or let us know. Thank you.
All right, everyone. I know we are closing in on time, so I will be short and sweet with some program updates. All right. For those who don't know me, I am Marlia Finch. I am the Assistant Director here with the Department of Education. And let's dive into some program updates. So as a reminder, the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program applications are due in TMAC by Wednesday, April 30th. And again, if you are having any issues with those FFVP applications or you don't see a site that you would like to apply for FFVP, please reach out to me and we'll see if that site is eligible and we will get that added to your application packet. Email is the quickest way to get that changed, but if you want to talk through something, that's totally cool. We can hop on the phone and get your FFVP application sorted out. And as Josh has already mentioned about local food for schools, we did receive a termination of agreement letter for the next round of LFS funds. So currently the future round of LFS funds are terminated. So at the moment, we don't know if there will be any additional funds later on because we simply just do not have that information. But when we do get that information and guidance, we will share it out with you as soon as possible because we know that was a huge impact for farm to school programs across the state. But in lighter news, speaking of farm to school, before I dive into the junior chef competition, I will reiterate the fact that we are partnering with the Department of Agriculture and some other community partners to really establish a good farm to school network for the state of Tennessee. So be on the lookout for more information about that. We are super excited to see where that goes and how that can enhance farm to school activities. And as one of the farm to school activities, we do have our annual junior chef competition. So this past March, so March 7th, we were hanging out at the Nashville State Community College and we had a full kitchen. It was awesome. And I wanted to share the top 3 teams that won scholarships to either Nashville State Community College or Sullivan University through winning this competition. So our first place team was Ooltewah High School Culinary Team. They made a zucchini ricotta manicotti. It was super good. You can see the team there along with the judges and Lindsay. And then our second place team was DeKalb County, and they made a home-style chicken pot pie. And then our third place team was Morgan County, and they had a chicken veggie quesadilla with salsa and Southwest brown rice. I just want to showcase that we had teams from across the state this year, so that was super exciting, all the way from Morgan County to Lake County, to really highlight the good work going on within our school districts. And as a reminder, all of these recipes are things that they can now put into their cafeteria menu. So that's super exciting. And we are working behind the scenes to kind of collect all those recipes as we've seen them over the years in Junior Chef and come up with some sort of cookbook resource for you guys so we can share the winning recipes. All right, moving on to some trainings. Just a reminder that regional meetings are coming up, and then the third new director workshops are also coming up. You should be able to see registration links on the training calendar, and our current training calendar is up on our website with those registration links that Lexi has popped into the chat. So if you need a reminder of the training calendar, again, it is linked in the chat. Thank you, Lexi. And then just a reminder about the TSNA conference coming up in June to be sure to register for that. And we look forward to seeing you there in Gatlinburg. One thing I am super excited about is our Teach-All platform. We are trying to revitalize that a little bit more for you guys to make it a little more user-friendly and easier to navigate. So we are working on on-demand trainings. So it will be one landing page with all the on-demand topics that are available. As you see on the screen, those are the list of the current on-demand trainings that we are building into the platform. We hope to officially publish and announce all the on-demand training. So the on-demand library hopefully will be ready to go by the end of the month. We are working with the IT team to make sure everything's good to go before we release it to you guys, but we wanted to give you a little sneak peek as to what's been happening behind the scenes with Teach-All. All right, and as Josh has already mentioned, again, our next statewide update call in July, we are going to frame that training a little bit differently based off of the survey results that you get. So the survey that we send out after today's call, please be as detailed as possible in your survey answers, because those answers will drive how we do trainings next year, starting with our statewide update call in July. And then we are working on next year's training calendar. So again, getting those survey results in as quickly as possible and as informative as possible will really help set the scene for a great training calendar next year. We are going for a more collaborative approach with different teams within the department, so be on the lookout for that. And then we will share the training calendar as soon as we have that readily available. And then it's official. Woo! We have a signed contract for the School Nutrition Program Academy in September. So you can go ahead and mark your calendars for September 16th through 18th, 2025. We will get that draft agenda out to you as quickly as possible because we know you need it for travel purposes. It will be at the Embassy Suites Cool Springs, and we'll send more information about S&P Academy and AR Academy as soon as we have that ready to send out. And I will pass it off to Jolene for regional updates.
Thanks, Marlia. I'm Jolene Shear, Senior Regional Manager, Senior Regional Consultant Manager. We know that our titles have changed a couple times, and one day I'm going to get it. And we are going to dive into a couple general updates. I know that we're short on time, so I'm going to talk kind of fast. I wanted to put a couple things on your radar, and you can always follow along with these in our operational calendar. School snacks, do make sure that you are completing your second monitoring of all your feeding sites prior to the end of the school year if you have after school snack. Also health inspections. If you haven't had 2 health inspections this year, make sure you're contacting the health department to get another one set up, or at least keep documentation that you've contacted them. You will need to enter that health inspection report information in TMAC by June 30th. And we'll send reminders of that too. One other thing I wanted to mention, I am going to skip a couple of these, but they're on our operational calendar, this is a great time to update all those policy and procedures at the local level. So anything that this year maybe didn't go so smoothly, adding those to your local policies. Sometimes those take board approval, so it's a good idea to get working on those now if you haven't already. And I do have a couple regional updates as well. I know you've heard me. I feel like I've talked a lot about the mentorship program, but this is a good way for everybody to get on the same page with it. I want to say thank you for everybody that has provided feedback for the mentorship program. The matches have been made for this year. Those emails have went out, and we had a kickoff meeting with those mentors because mentors need a next level of support. This year we're doing coffee chats. That's something new. It's an open forum for mentors and mentees to join. I will be posing questions in the chat and some icebreakers, basically as a way to start conversation. They're only 30 minutes long, so if you could join, that's great. It's really just getting the conversation going between mentor and mentees. I did want to share some data with you this year. We have 17 total mentees and 11 total mentors. The math is never perfect when you are matching people. I always match first on location, and then from there we go based on IT and then how it's structured. Your school nutrition program is structured. So thank you to the mentors who have a few mentees this year. We do have 3 new mentors, and then we have 10 new mentees. So we have 28 people participating this year, and 7 mentees and 7 mentors are on board from last year. So 16 total matches is what that looks like on our end. So we're excited to get that going. And just as a reminder, it runs April 2025 to April 2026. I also wanted to touch base about the disaster resource. I haven't forgotten that I told you that it was going to be given to you shortly after I presented at S&P Academy last year, September 2024. I haven't forgot about you. We have had a lot of updates because we've had a lot of severe weather. And I'm really looking forward to releasing it hopefully in the next couple months. We had a lot of feedback from our CRO partners and the national office. So I think it's going to be a good resource for everyone. And also, I'd like to tell you a little bit about what we're doing behind the scenes. So creating resources. Our team is busy with support and guidance for you guys and site visits. We're wrapping up ARs and PRs. But behind the scenes, we have been working on some cool things. Not to pinpoint anybody, and this actually is an all-inclusive list, but as we revamp the website, we're also creating resources that will be helpful for you. So Audra and Libby are working on a Buy American tracker that will track 10% of those expenses, also a boot camp manual. That way you guys will have a good way, if you want to use that, to structure your in-service trainings. Gary is working on alternative staffing solutions. We have Frankie working on on-site monitoring and tailoring it to the AR. So that would be a good resource for you guys. Jennifer is doing a checklist for the wellness policy and assessment. Leslie was working on CEP resources. And if you guys have had an AR lately, there's this weird section sort of where there's policies listed, but we've never asked for those policies before. Well, Brooke is creating a document to help guide that and already have them formally written before an AR. Another reason I want to share this with you is because, like Josh said, he's created a survey that you guys can provide input. And that input guides what we do and what you need. We've heard that you need staffing solutions, so we want to try to create a resource for you. We know the Buy American is going to be a little of a burger, so we're going to create a resource for you. So that's another way that you can provide your input, and then we can see what other resources that we could potentially create to help you. I know I just were vomited very fast. But if you have any questions about what I covered, please reach out to me. I don't mind. I am going to turn it over to Marlene in our Upper Cumberland region for a district highlight.
Hey, thank you, Jolene. I just wanted to speak a little bit this afternoon about one of the districts in the Upper Cumberland region, and we are highlighting Cumberland County Schools. Miss Kathy Hamby and her group of workers up there have they've had a 90% lunch participation rate increase and a 69% breakfast participation rate increase. Miss Kathy also works closely, and she does the fresh fruits and vegetable program. Summer feeding is one of Miss Kathy's favorite things, I guess, to do, and she is just so excited about that. She last year she had over 60 sites that she served meals from. So that's just a phenomenal job that Miss Kathy does with that. Also there in Cumberland County, they grow lettuce and tomatoes, the students do, and then in turn they sell them to the school district to use on the salad bar, to use on their hamburgers, that kind of thing. So that is a very, very fresh farm to table item that Miss Kathy is providing for her students there in Cumberland County. And then also she has theme days and Christmas. She had all the cafeterias decorated for Christmas, Christmas lights out. I mean, it was just an amazing sight to see. And for those kids to walk in and see someone that cares about them enough to just really make their day. And so they have Dr. Seuss Day. She has the green eggs and ham that goes along with Dr. Seuss. And then also she goes downtown and sets up in the summer months to promote her summer feeding program. And you can see her vans that are there downtown when they're having the downtown days. So Miss Kathy, I just want to give you a shout out and thank you for all that you do in Cumberland County.
Thank you for that, Marlene. I know we're, 9-10 minutes over, but I appreciate all of you being on the call today, and look forward to hearing back from you on the surveys. So yeah, hope you all have a great rest of your school year, and we will talk to you soon. Y'all have a wonderful day.